Hello and welcome back. Today we will be talking about part 2 of the Throne of Glass series, The Big Bang. Remember the world from last time? It just got a whole lot bigger. We're gonna take it one book at a time from here on out. I'm not doing a recap of the first two because the last video was just a recap of the first two. For this video, instead of just going chronologically, I'm going to go by location. There are 4 main plot lines. Most of them occur in different locations, so we're gonna run through the majority of each and then we'll tie them all back together. The first plot we're gonna do is completely new. It takes place in a mountain called the Omega. Remember last time I told you about the witches? This plot is the witch plot, and we have new characters. Manon Blackbeak. I said Manon the first time I read it, it's Manon. There are 3 clans of Iron Teeth witches. The Blackbeaks, the Yellowlegs, and the Blue Bloods. Each clan has a matron, and each matron has an heir. All witches are female. Manon is the heir to the Blackbeak clan. Her grandmother is the matron. Iskra Yellowlegs is the Yellowlegs heir. She's a bitch. Manon is the reason I kept reading this series. She's really cool. The king has extended this offer to the Iron Teeth witches to basically be his cavalry. They fly on brooms, but because magic is gone, their brooms don't work anymore. He's gonna give them wyverns to fly on. If you don't know what a wyvern is, it's like a dragon, but it only has 2 legs. He's breeding wyverns, and then they go up there to train with them. Other thing you should know about Manon. Manon has golden eyes, the eyes of the Vowed Kings. She is also the leader of her coven. Her coven is called the 13 because there's 13 of them. The only other one who's relevant right here by name is Asterin, her cousin and her second in command. They're like a really tight group. Witches are supposed to be emotionless and very disciplined. When they're trying to choose their wyverns, they're being shown by having like fighting pits where these wyverns will go up against bait beasts. They're just the like runt. The wyverns will just show off their power by killing the bait beast. Manon is pushed into the wyvern pit by Iskra. There's 2 wyverns in this pit at the time. The bait beast protects Manon. Manon and the bait beast together kill the bigger wyvern. Manon says, that bait beast, I choose him. His name is Abraxos, and he's probably the best character in this series. Abraxos is really smart. He understands things. Abraxos is the first creature that Manon really feels emotional toward. She has this really strong relationship with her wyvern. The sort of climax of this plot, they're training for something called the War Games. It's like Capture the Flag, but on wyverns. A wing leader will be chosen. They're basically the highest commanding officer for the wyvern cavalry. At the War Games, Iskra attacks the Blue Blood heir. Didn't make her card, sorry Petra. Kills her wyvern. Petra's gonna die. But Manon and Abraxos make this split-second decision and go and save her. Manon's grandmother is furious. You should not have shown compassion. You are hardcore. Manon does not regret what she's done. Manon has become slightly more human. The Blackbeaks win the games. Manon is named wing leader. There's one more thing that happens that's really important, but we're gonna pause on that plot. We're moving to our second plot, which takes place in the city we all know and love, Rifthold. This is Rifthold part 1. There's 2 Rifthold plots. This is Kale Westfall's plot. I am not a particular fan of Kale Westfall. Kale is really sad. He sent Selena away. He feels like he still loves her, but also he does not trust her at all and he thinks she's a monster. So I don't really know. Right at the beginning of this book, a general in the king's army comes to Rifthold. His name is Aedion Ashriver. He is Aelin Ashriver Galathinius' first cousin. Selena knew him. They grew up together. They were super, super close. You can tell because their names are almost the same, but they haven't seen each other in 10 years. He has become a general that frequently rampages Terrasen, his home country. But of course, it's secretly a lie and he hasn't done any of that. This is actually kind of funny. They literally fake battles by acting them out. Soldiers come in who then pretend to like die. When it's nighttime, they just get up and leave. They're basically just having like Civil War reenactments and it's somehow fooling the entire country. He's really sketchy. He has a black ring. Kale starts following him. Aedion is actually working with the rebels. Remember last time? There are these 2 rebels that our attention are kind of drawn to. Young man and old man. They have names now. Murtog? and Ren, his grandson. They're also both from Terrasen. Adian has been working with them. Kale discovers this. He starts sort of working with them. Who knows what Kale is doing? Least of all Kale. The only person he's truly loyal to is Dorian. He really just doesn't choose a side. He does tell Adian Selena/Aelin is alive, which is the first time Adian's heard of it. Adian's ring is fake. When he first was given a black ring, he threw it away and had a replica made. So that's why the king can't really control him. What this whole squad does, they start researching how magic was erased. The king used a spell to get rid of magic. You know that giant clock tower in the courtyard? There's another one in the north and down in the south. They make a triangle that encompasses pretty much the whole continent. Those were the 3 points of this spell. So they figure out that's how he did it. If they can destroy the clock tower, magic will be free again. Meanwhile, the king executes all the slaves in the labor camps. This is horrifying. This is horrible because this man is awful. Kale doesn't really do anything about it. Kale's whole thing this whole time is that he's supposed to be going back to his father. This is that stuff I didn't want to talk about last time, but it's slightly relevant. He keeps being like, I'm gonna leave, I'm going home, I'm quitting my job, and everyone's like, oh my god, we don't care. It really takes a lot of energy to do this. The king is sending an army. General Narek is leading this army that he is sending to Wendland. Then Kale and Adian get summoned to King Havelyardman's throne room. That's not good. Rifthold Part 2. I'm not writing another Rifthold. Is my boy Dorian. Dorian, meanwhile, has been doing very little. He discovers Selena's true identity. He has the opposite reaction of Kale. Dorian accepts her. No matter what, they're still friends. He tells Kale, listen, get off your ass, choose a side. He says, you cannot pick and choose which parts of her to love. Which is a really, anyway, he's been struggling with his magic. It starts like flaring up when he's really emotional. He meets this healer, Sorsha. Dorian and Sorsha fall in love. Yay. It will never work out. Sorsha starts helping him control his magic. They start just hanging out for the rest of the book. Sorsha frequently writes letters about her life in the castle home to a friend. They know it's not gonna really work out, Sorsha especially, but she loves him anyway. Then Dorian and Sorsha are also summoned and we'll be back. Our final plot. This one's gonna be the longest. Sorry, I saved it for last. I hear you. Where is the main character in this series? Selena's Hardothian. They call her Fireheart in this one. She is in Wendland. She is found there by this guy, Rowan Whitethorn. He is a Fae prince and is tasked with taking her to meet Maeve, Queen of the Fae. Remember there were those 3 Fae queens. Mab and Mora both fell in love with humans and gave up their immortality to be with them. Maeve is the only one really still functioning as a fairy. Maeve is also technically like her great aunt. There's a lot of Fae information you're about to get. There's this thing called the Blood Oath. You basically like drink this person's blood and then you're sworn to serve them. They can make you do whatever they want. Rowan is sworn to Maeve, along with 5 others, sort of Rowan's only friends. Maeve meets Selena and basically said, I'm not giving you any information about the word keys, because that's what Selena's after, until you prove to me how magical you are. Rowan becomes Selena's like magic tutor. They go to this fortress, Mistward, the home of a lot of the Demi-Fae. Demi-Fae are any Fae that's not full-blooded. Technically, Selena is a Demi-Fae. The Demi-Fae hang out at Mistward until they've proven themselves worthy of Doranel. Rowan and Selena do not get along. Over these like training sessions, they sort of start to really understand each other because he knows she's Aelin. Selena is more honest with Rowan than she is with Kale or Dorian because Rowan knows who she is right from the beginning. During one of their training sessions, Rowan takes her to a lake. They find a golden sword called Goldrin. There's a little tiny like golden ring in the scabbard. Selena keeps both of these. Other thing they're doing, Demi-Fae people are being murdered and Rowan's investigating and he takes Selena along with him. Selena recognizes it's a Valg attack. Those rings and collars allow Valg demons to possess a host. That person is really no longer themselves. A Valg prince, which is way more powerful, needs a full-on like obsidian collar. So these Demi-Fae people are being killed because they aren't able to be possessed. Rowan and Selena are tracking this down and they discover General Narek and his army camped near Mistward. General Narek himself, along with 3 others in his army, are Valg princes, which means they're really hard to kill. General Narek and his demon army are going to attack Mistward. Here's where I'm going to talk a little bit about magic. Rowan's magic manifests in ice and wind. Celaena's magic manifests in a lot of fire. She gets it from Brannon's line. He was in love with the fire goddess. On her mother's side, she does have a little bit of water magic, which comes from Mab, one of the other fairy queens who's her great-grandmother. She's mostly mastering fire, which she becomes very good at. There's 3 types of fae bonds. One, there's the blood oath. The second type is called carson. It's when 2 fae people are so compatible they can share magic with each other. This is very rare, but of course it turns out Rowan and Celaena are carson. I really do like Rowan. Rowan is probably the best thing to ever happen to her. I like their relationship so far. The third type of fae bond is a mating bond. A lot of the fae have a mate. It's like your soulmate. Only have one. Once you interact with this person, the mating bond will like lock into place and you two will realize that you're mates. This is one of those things that like Sarah J. Maas seems really into and I just was not. Rowan had a mate, Lyria, and she died and he felt responsible. He shares that with Celaena. Mating bonds will be important, so keep those in mind. Narek and his forces attack Mistward. They launch like a defensive counterattack. Narek is a Valg prince and has 3 others. Celaena goes up against them with her fire magic. The Valg feed off of traumatic memories, so they force Celaena to see all these flashbacks. History time! Can't you not wait? Celaena experiences this very important flashback. This is Celaena / Aelin's family. We are gonna talk about the night that they died. Well, actually, first we're gonna start about a week before. When Celaena was 8, the king of Adarlan and his son visited Terrasen. While they were there, her magic like erupted. The king witnessed it. A few days after this, Aelin's parents take her to a country house. They also bring her mother's best friend, Marion Loken, Lady of Parents. Marion Loken was married to Cal Loken and they had a daughter, Elide. Marion was Aelin's nursemaid. Aelin still feels really upset and embarrassed, so her mother comes in and gives her the Amulet of Orinth, which is said to have protected the rulers of Terrasen since Brannon. Aelin is like, oh thanks mom. Later that night, Evelyn and Ro are murdered. Celaena discovers their bodies. Marion takes Aelin and protects her. Cal Loken is executed. A man comes to the country house. Marion tells Aelin, run, and she stays back to fight. Aelin sees Marion get murdered by this guy. This is the sacrifice that has haunted Aelin / Celaena. The fact that this woman chose an 8-year-old over herself, her husband, her child, and Celaena feels like she can never live up to that. And that's the thing that the Valg are like feasting on. Aelin ended up falling into the river and then washed up into Adarlan, and that is, of course, when Arobynn Hamel, the king of the Assassin's Guild, found her. Arobynn knows who Celaena is, but they never talked about it. Elide Loken, the daughter of Marion, has never been found. Aelin has always assumed that she lost the Amulet of Orinth in that river. However, as the Valg are showing her this, she realizes that amulet does actually have magical powers, and then she draws the conclusion the king has 2 of those word keys. The third was in the Amulet of Orinth because Brannon had it. She realizes she must have had it by the time she washed up on shore, which means Arobynn Hamel stole the 3rd word key and has had it for 10 years. Let's go back through them and wrap them up. Manon at the Omega. Manon has been crowned wing leader, and her grandmother, the matron, and the other 2 matrons bring out a prize for her, and it's a Kroken witch. The Iron Teeth hate the Kroken, and here's why. A long time ago, there was a witch kingdom. Krokens and the Iron Teeth were constantly fighting over it. There was this war for the witch kingdom. The Iron Teeth technically won, but as they killed the last Kroken queen, she cursed them. As long as there are Iron Teeth witches on this land, I won't be able to survive here. They had to abandon it. They hate the Kroken. Right now, the witch kingdom is actually kind of run by humans. This Kroken witch is brought out, and Manon gets to execute her. This witch, though, says the Kroken witches pity the Iron Teeth. You don't have to be this way, but you make yourselves this way, and that's why we the Krokens pity you, and that's why you hate us. And Manon's like, no, That's not why. Anyway, she kills her, but this message sort of stays with Manon. The Croaken witches wear red capes, and Manon keeps as a trophy the red cape. Manon has golden eyes, a red cloak, and silver hair. She's a badass. I love her. She and the other covens are being sent to Morath. If you will remember, Morath is now the seat of Duke Parrington. These two are also with him. All of these people are all headed to Morath. Next one. In my opinion, this is the most intense ending of these plots. They've all been summoned to King Haviljard's throne room. They've all been doing bad things. Chaol and Adian are aiding rebels. Dorian has fallen in love with a healer, and the king says, I know one of you has betrayed me. I know you're working with the rebels. I confess. Adian says, yes, I'm a rebel. I've always hated you. I've always been loyal to my home country. I don't care. Kill me now. The king says, you know what? I'm not gonna kill you, because actually, I've heard tell of this great battle, and supposedly, the lost princess of Terrasen is back. Word is out that Aelin is alive. He doesn't realize it's Celaena. He's deciding to use Adian as bait. I'm gonna keep you alive in the dungeons and see who comes to try and break you out. Adian is captured and taken away. They think that's the end of it, but then the king says, okay, so now it's Sorsha's turn, and threatens to kill her. Dorian is freaking out and is like, what's happening? The king reveals Sorsha is also a spy, and those letters she's been writing are going to Rin Allsbrook. The king figured this out. Dorian didn't know. Dorian begs the king for mercy, and the king says, and cuts off Sorsha's head. And Dorian is broken. Chaol has had enough. Finally now, this is the last straw. Chaol pulls out his sword, and the king says, don't waste your breath, and tries to kill him too. But that's the last straw for Dorian, so he unleashes his magic. Chaol won't waste that sacrifice, so he books it. He grabs Fleetfoot, and they book it. They're out of the castle. Dorian's fighting his father. His father gets his guards to hold Dorian down, and they put a black obsidian collar around his neck. That's the end of that plot. Now to wrap up Celaena. It's time for Dorian. No, what? It's time for Rowan and Celaena to visit Doranel. Maeve is sketchy as hell, and Celaena's been hearing all these stories of like evil stuff Maeve has done. Rowan and Celaena have become such good friends at this point. Celaena asks him, why would you bind yourself to this woman? Binding himself to Maeve was what got him out of the depression of his mate being dead. He was very emotionally compromised. We're gonna talk for a second about the other people bloodbound to Maeve. Rowan's cadre, they're brothers in arms. They also came to the battle at Mistward. Gavriel, he can transform into a mountain lion, but like a big one, so it's cool. If you're a full-blooded fae, you usually have an animal form. And we've got Fenris and Connell, who are twins. They can transform into wolves. Lorcan, and the final member is Vaughn, who's literally so unimportant that I spelled his name wrong. Vaughn can transform into some type of bird. The only characterization we ever get of him occurs when during the battle he nods at Rowan. That's it. That's the only thing Vaughn ever does. Anyway, Celaena and Rowan head to Doranel. Maeve says, okay, show me your magic, and Celaena says, no, tell me what you know about the word keys, and Maeve says, not that much, actually. So she's very unhelpful. Celaena pieces together from all these things she's heard. The story goes, Maeve commissioned a group of fae to go out and steal the word keys and bring them back, and then she gave them to Brandon and said go hide them. That's not exactly what happened. The three fae who went to get the word keys were Maeve, Brannon, and this guy Athril, Brandon's best friend, and Maeve's lover. Spoiler alert if you haven't guessed it yet, Maeve is a villain. Maeve wanted the keys for herself. She killed Athril for these keys. While she was sort of weakened with grief and guilt, Brannon took the keys from her and hid them. Celaena has pieced this together because that sword she found was Athril's. The ring in the scabbard was the ring he intended to give to Maeve. So Celaena like pulls out this ring and this sword. Guess what I figured out? Maeve immediately wants those back. Celaena says, I'm not gonna give them to you. However, I will burn down your city unless you free Rowan from his blood oath. So, that happened. Maeve says, okay, fine. I don't like him anyway. She frees Rowan from the blood oath somehow, magically. Rowan turns right around and blood swears himself to Celaena. So, whatever. Rowan and Celaena now have 2 of the 3 fae bonds. How this book ends, Celaena is heading back to Rifthold. She's on a mission. She doesn't know about any of these other plots. She's going back to Rifthold so she can get to Arabin Hamel and get that third word key. You can't really destroy word keys, but you have to like put them back into the word gate. She's gonna check up on her friends who are doing, you know, great. Rowan stays in Windland. He's like complete fae with white hair and has tattoos all down his face. He's a little too conspicuous. She has basically accepted her birthright and she's going to reunite her court and take back Terrasen. So the world knows Aelin Ashriver Galathinius is alive. Manon's in Morath, currently working for the bad guys. Kale has vanished into the night in Rifthold. Selena's headed back. Rowan's chillin'. That's our squad. Very briefly, because I should have mentioned this earlier, a little tiny bit of information about Aedion Ashriver. He doesn't know who his father is. His mother was human, but his father, he never met. He has a lot of fae blood. Could be anyone. Tune in next time for part 3. There will be even more information. Thank you for watching. My name is Carson. I don't know why I'm doing this, but we're in too deep now, so it has to be finished.